Jamaica, make we do the right thing. Make we live good today for a better tomorrow. Talk it out. Don't fight it out. The time by the Ministry of National Security is
6:30.
Two tremors were felt by Jamaicans across the island on Sunday within an hour of each other, sparking fresh concern about the likelihood of a major event happening in the island given the frequency of felt tremors in recent months. I'm asking the expert, Professor Simon Mitchell from the UWI, to talk about that very issue. How soon, how close are we perhaps to a cataclysmic event, earthquake? Jamaicans perhaps petrified about what the near future may hold. That's the topic for lead story on this evening on CVM TV. Let's start the show. Welcome to Lead Story here on CVM TV. My name is George Davis. So yes, Sunday morning to be precise, I was watching the English Premier League game between Chelsea and Arsenal at Stamford Bridge, and I felt the couch shake, and it was a really jolting experience. The game wasn't doing much for me, and I was nodding off, but I was jolted up, bolt upright when I felt, and I headed for the door frame, my front door. And then an hour or so later, it came again, this one shaking even harder than the one before. And of course, a quick look on social media showed people talking about feeling both tremors, and people of course talking about the frequency with which these tremors have been felt. You'd have noticed in the opening I said felt tremors, because the earthquake unit at the UWI will tell you that there are earthquakes with alarming frequency, not alarming frequency, there are earthquakes with frequency, but some of them you don't feel them. So their machines know the occurrence of these incidents, but they're not significant enough for you to feel. Those two on Sunday were certainly felt. We have a package prepared for you to set the context for the discussion that I intend to have with Professor Simon Mitchell.
Since the start of 2024, Jamaica has experienced a noticeable frequency of earthquakes, bringing renewed focus to the island's geological position and its seismic risks. Jamaica lies in a seismically active zone due to its proximity to several tectonic plate boundaries. The major fault system, Enriquillo Plantain Garden Fault Line, Fault Zone, the EPGFZ, bounds the Caribbean and North American plates and runs through Jamaica, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic. The EPGFZ and the Blue Mountain Range mark the boundary between the plates in Jamaica, making it susceptible to earthquakes that can range from mild tremors to potentially damaging quakes. The most memorable of these earthquakes would be the Port Royal earthquake in 1692, which saw the storied fall of a wealthy city being overcome by a phenomenon known as liquefaction, which led to the city being submerged into the Caribbean Sea. The 1906 Kingston earthquake not only registered on the Richter scale, but also did profound damage to the island's capital with 9.5 intensity and a casualty rate estimated between 800 to 1,000 persons. In 1957 and 1993, Jamaica experienced more earthquakes that led to loss of life and property. Just yesterday, the country was caught off guard as the earth shook with a quake measuring 5.6 and an epicenter located approximately 152 kilometers north of Ocho Rios at 10:30 in the morning. Then another approximately an hour after with magnitude of 6.3 and was located approximately 150 kilometers north, again of Ocho Rios. While the epicenter might not have been in Jamaica, there are heightened concerns about the frequency and noticeable intensity of the tremors, with a 5.2 magnitude being measured in August and a 5.6 magnitude in October of last year that caused public and private institutions to be closed. So what's at fault? What is accounting for the frequent and more intense quakes? What can we do to prepare for the possibility of a more intense disaster? We discuss on Lead Story.
Yeah, those are basically the questions I intend to ask the good professor after this break. This is Lead Story here on CVM TV on this Monday.
Stop buying expensive toner cartridges. Global Ink is now selling new factory direct generic toners. Remove factory seals, install and print. Engineered to work first time, every time. Certified for use in HB and Brother printers. Worry-free, affordable printing for your peace of mind. Money saved is money earned. We deliver island-wide. 754-7444 or 1-888-NEED INK. Never run out of toner again. Global Ink.
Pay nothing down on a shiny, brand new Hyundai vehicle with free loan payments until March 2025. Yes, get a 2024 Hyundai vehicle and get free loan payments until March 2025. 100% financing, 2 years free service, 0 processing fees, and other sweet goodies. Drive into the new year with your new ride. Goodbye, old car. Hello, Hyundai. Hyundai. For free payments promotion. Limited stock available. Offer while stocks last. Conditions apply.
Make a move now. Hi everyone, my name is Kurt Dunn.
Greetings from Kelly's Kelly Yoga.
Hey, it's Robin Morrison, and I am your National Physical Activity Specialist. And it's time to make a move.
Jamaica, let's get moving again. Season 2 of the Ministry of Health and Wellness Jamaica Move series is here. Join us Wednesdays at 5 a.m. and Saturdays at 8 a.m. right here on CVM TV. Let's get moving.
Make a move now.
Yeah, so a Sunday morning wound down in Jamaica. A boring Premier League football match was pushed to the sidelines where it should go by 2 earthquakes felt within about an hour of each other. The University of the West Indies earthquake unit saying the second one measured 5.6 in terms of magnitude. First one striking at 10:50 a.m., the second one coming an hour later. And between 2021 and 24, this graphic showing you the average number of monthly earthquakes. If you notice, the graphic we showed you from the earthquake unit at the UWI talking about Sunday's events said felt earthquakes. And it's a key distinction because you can rest assured that there are earthquakes very frequently. You're just not feeling them. Professor Simon Mitchell is a professor of sedimentary geology in the Department of Geography at the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies. He's a distinguished academic and a nice man, and he's volunteered some time this evening to talk to us in this segment. Good evening, sir.
Good evening to you.
Good. All right, Professor Mitchell, before we get into the reason you're here, just explain for me. Back in the day, certainly when I was a boy in high school and before, earthquakes used to be measured by the Richter scale. So the communication was, this earthquake measures 5.6 on the Richter scale, 4.9 on the Richter scale. I notice over time they've dropped the addendum Richter. Why have they dropped Richter, and what is the unit or machine used to measure the tremors these days?
Well, it actually is still the Richter scale, but what they talk about is magnitude. And the Richter scale is a magnitude measure. And what that is actually is the energy released at the point of the earthquake. Now, the thing about that is if you have a very big earthquake, but it's very deep underground, then you don't get so much energy reaching the surface. Whereas if you have a shallow earthquake, which is not quite so large, you might have more energy reaching the surface. So if you like, the magnitude or the Richter value is not a direct measure of how much damage is done. So there's an intensity scale which actually measures the damage that is done as well. And you'll notice that for the older earthquakes, they were talking about intensity scales using Roman numerals, which is a measure of the damage. Now, the thing to remember about the Richter scale is that its energy actually released and it's a 10 times scale. So what you're seeing is as it goes from 5 to 6, it's 10 times. If you go from 6 to 7, it's 100 times. If you go from 5 to 7, it's 100 times. If we went 5 to 9, it would be 1,000 times. So the reason we don't have earthquakes much above 9 is because simply you can't release that much energy. But it also means the smaller ones can be counted. So that's why when we get the small ones, we don't seem to feel them to the same level. But when you get the larger ones, and they don't seem to, the numbers don't seem to be that much larger, but of course, when you're 10 timesing every time you go up, of course they are larger.
Hear you on that. You've answered 3 questions in one year with that very good explanation at the top. I appreciate that. All right. So among Jamaicans talking on social media on Sunday, people were saying, look, there were 2 distinct schools of thought. One school of thought said, look, this series of relatively small events that we've been having over the past few years is a build-up to a cataclysmic event. A next school of thought, no, these series of small events that we're having is gradual pressure being released below the Earth's surface, which reduces the likelihood of a cataclysmic event in the future. What is the science saying? Which school is truthful?
There's really a mixture of these things going on. You get a series of background earthquakes really going on all the time. Most of the time, as you mentioned, we really do not feel them. And we probably only feel maybe 1 in every 10 or 1 in every 20 actual earthquakes actually happens in Jamaica. So there's a lot that happen which we just don't feel. Now, each time there's an earthquake, what basically happens is a fault moves. That fault in moving changes the stress patterns. So what will happen is the stress patterns will then move somewhere else. So what you're doing is you're gradually transferring stress patterns from one fault to another fault. Now, if that ends up on a big one, then you could, a fault that can move and it's close to moving and it's a big fault, it's a long fault, and the longer the faults are, the more likely they can generate big earthquakes. If you get that powered onto that fault, all the stress is built up onto that fault and that fault fails, then you get a very big earthquake. I mean, if we think about what happened on Sunday, what we had there was we had to begin with a smaller earthquake. The unit measured at 5.6, the USGS had it at 5.9, and they have stations around the whole region, so I would probably go with that. That fault failed, and it created this earthquake. Now, the stress was immediately put further along the fault.
Yes.
That then failed and gave a bigger earthquake. So the first one was a pre-shock, and it led to basically increased stress on another part of the fault, which failed almost immediately as well.
Yes.
1 hour and 1 minute later. So in that case, the first earthquake basically led to the second one because the stress had changed. And since then, I haven't looked this afternoon, but there were at least 3 aftershocks which measured greater than 4.
Yes.
On the Richter scale. So we are seeing aftershocks, which we would expect.
Yeah.
So I think this is the situation. Now, I think the other thing to think about this is that we mentioned it in the introductory part, there are 2 fault lines. There are essentially 2 fault lines. There's one which passes through Haiti and passes through Jamaica and then goes down towards the Cayman Islands in that direction. Has to loop across the Cayman Trench at the spreading center. And then there's another fault which runs out of northern Hispaniola, south of Cuba, and then goes down to meet the other fault in the west. Now, they're different faults. Our concern is with that southern fault and not really with the northern fault. And the northern fault is the one that moved on Sunday. And while we felt that, it was 200 kilometers away from Kingston.
Yes.
Now, there was apparently some damage in Cuba, in Santiago de Cuba. There's some reported damage. But of course, Cuba is suffering from a lack of power and things at the moment. So information coming out of Cuba is not very quick at the present point.
Hold the point there for us, Professor. We have to take the quick break and come right back. This is Lead Story on CVM TV. Professor Simon Mitchell, sedimentary geologist at the UWI, talking about earthquakes, the sequence of events we are seeing, and what they could mean about a big event or not in the future.
The time by Grace. Taste that moves you is
6:45.
Pay nothing down on a shiny, brand new Hyundai vehicle with free loan payments until March 2025. Yes, get a 2024 Hyundai vehicle and get free loan payments until March 2025. 100% financing, 2 years free service, 0 processing fees, and other sweet goodies. Drive into the new year with your new ride. Goodbye, old car. Hello, Hyundai. Hyundai. For free payments promotion. Limited stock available. Offer while stocks last. Conditions apply.
These days, challenges are everywhere and things are constantly changing, but independent living remains the same. Rising above physical challenges, we can help you do it. For years, we have been Jamaica's trusted provider for solutions to improve patient care, safety, and the general quality of life. No matter your age or your physical limitation, we are the caring store, waiting to serve you. It's time to experience independent living. Visit us today.
That jacket! When was you into Temptation?
Steve knows style. Family Feud.
Brought to you by We Are the Caring Store, waiting to serve you. It's time to experience independent living. Visit us today.
Back with us on Lead Story here on CVM TV. My guest is Professor Simon Mitchell, sedimentary geologist, and he is based at the University of the West Indies at the Mona campus. Now, Professor, from Sunday's event, people immediately went back, some of them, to 1993. You mentioned it just now. That event we had at that time measured about 5.6. There was damage to infrastructure right across the island. I know NWC, National Water Commission installations were particularly hard hit. And when they totted up the cost of the damage, it was about $200 million. And insurers said that they had a spike in claims by virtue of that event. Some people say, well, George, how come the magnitude in 1993 was of the same measure as Sunday's event, and yet the damage is nowhere as near, and it didn't cause the same dread that the event in 1993 caused? And I want you to explain why that was so.
I think we can also consider the event in October 2023, which was also a 5.6, and certainly which pretty much everybody in Jamaica felt that one. So really, the truth of the matter is there are two things that count. There's really three things that count. Let's say three things that count when you're looking at how you feel an earthquake or how an earthquake is going to affect you. The first one is how far you are away from that epicenter. So the one on Sunday, the epicenter is 200 kilometers away on a different fault line. And therefore, the seismic waves have to travel a lot further, and therefore they get attenuated. They actually decrease in their amplitudes so that we don't feel them to the same extent. The second thing is the depth of the actual earthquake. So in other words, a shallow earthquake, much like the 1993 one, will cause more damage than a deeper earthquake, simply because the seismic waves will get to the surface quicker. Mm-hmm. So a combination of having something closer to Kingston and near the surface will give you a larger event than something further away from Kingston and deeper.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The other thing we can also think about briefly is the fact that what you sit on makes a difference. So if you're on hard rock, it doesn't react in the same way as soft rock. And by soft rock, I mean things like clays and sands and gravels. They amplify what goes on. So in other words, the flat ground over much of Jamaica is where you see the amplification of these waves. And that's why people tend to feel these things very much in Kingston. Because we have this flat ground, it's going to amplify the waves. So while people may not feel it quite so much, people before it feel it more in Kingston. And of course, there's more people in Kingston to feel it.
Yeah. So just to put a seal on what you said, and I understand you clearly, but I'm thinking of my audience, and I want to ensure that they're walking along with us. What you're saying is a magnitude 7, 200 kilometers away from Jamaica, which epicenter 200 kilometers away, is not going to cause the same damage or the damage that 5.6 with the epicenter located in Portland or in St. Thomas or somewhere, especially if that one that happens in Jamaica is of a shallow depth, is effectively what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying exactly, yes.
Yeah. Is there anything, Professor, to suggest that this constant, that the movement below the Earth's crust, where plates are moving and they are trying to align, and that's where I'm going, is alignment possible? Will the plates ever fall into a groove where they click into place, almost like if you think of Lego pieces where they fit together? Is that a possibility, or will we all, for as long as the Earth exists, you'll all have this movement and plates shifting and trying to and pressure being released as the shift happens?
Well, certainly while humans are around on this planet, it's not going to change significantly. But eventually the heat being generated in the planet would cool down or stop generating so much, and the rocks underneath would solidify. It would stop the movement of the plates eventually. But we're talking billions of years, probably, certainly hundreds of millions of years in the future, not something that is going to change what we see.
Yeah. There was perhaps you can call it infamous, Professor Mitchell. I think it was last year when a parliamentarian got on his feet and was making a speech to the effect that there is a earthquake predicting tool in the United States that can warn of when an earthquake is about to arrive. He was shouted down by his parliamentarians, and you could know when the parliamentarians get something wrong, not even their colleagues on their side are giving them any support. Yeah. I say that to ask you, with the sophistication of the science and the advancement of the science over hundreds of years, what is so difficult about getting something in place that can give scientists a better idea of when a cataclysmic earthquake is going to strike?
I think the real problem with this is that it's a gradual build-up of stress that happens. So it's not as though there's a sudden something that happens that actually causes an earthquake. It's a gradual process of building up this stress, and then something fails along one of these faults and the movement actually happens. So there's not really a direct trigger you can see. Now, in some cases, you might have a series of pre-shocks that are building up towards a large earthquake, and that might give you some indication that something could be going to happen, but of course it might stop and it may not happen. For instance, the 5.6 we had last year, there was not a single foreshock, and yet there were maybe 200 aftershocks. So there wasn't even a single movement of any fault around that before the big one moved. So I think the thing is, it's very difficult to actually really predict these sorts of things. The other thing about that one, the 5.6, is it's changed the number of actual earthquakes we're getting in Jamaica. I had a diagram which you showed earlier, which basically had earthquakes before about 14 a month. Mm-hmm. Then after that event, after that 5.6, for all the months afterwards, we've had more than that number of earthquakes. You look at the event is there, that very, very tall one.
Yes.
And if you look to the right of that, all of those bars are higher. And in the last 3 months, they're higher still. So what this is telling me is that the actual fault systems in Jamaica have not yet calmed down and settled since that earthquake more than a year ago now.
Yeah. Well, that's enough to fill a reasonable person with dread, Professor Mitchell, to tell you the truth. Just before you go, what would you say to those who have charge of schools, especially at the secondary and primary level, about the level of education that they should impart to students, especially in light of people making fun of one infamous incident last year where a broadcaster ran beneath a desk during an earthquake and people were laughing rather than applauding that movement?
Yeah, I think it is very important that we are basically imparting the right information to people, because if we think about it, we have to get it right. Because if we get it right and people do the right thing when an earthquake happens, and that is seek cover, protect your head, more people are going to survive or be less seriously injured than if we don't do this sort of thing. And if we get a big one, it's not so much an if as when we get a big, one day it will turn up. We want as many people as possible to have the chance of surviving it, even if they lose houses. They survive, their life is the most important thing to begin with, the life of their family members, the life of their friends.
Yeah.
So it's not something you want to take lightheartedly. This is a very, very serious situation.
Hear you on that.
And we've seen that. We've seen with the hurricanes going through recently. We've seen the situations have happened there, and in terms of the flooding, not just with us, but with other people where we've seen people killed.
Yeah. Professor Simon Mitchell, that's all the time we have. Thank you very much for your contribution this evening. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, and I'm glad you. Glad you asked these questions.
That's excellent. Simon Mitchell, Professor of Sedimentary Geology at the University of the West Indies, Mona. That's my time. I break now for the news at 7 with Mika.
No more fear of missing out. CVM TV News is on YouTube. Get up-to-date news, sports, and business content at CVM TV News anytime, anywhere. Subscribe now to CVM TV News to see it happen.
You know my heart goes crazy when you take the extra time. Let's explore our love. We'll leave the world behind. Can you feel this beat?
Schoolboy Football, September 7 to December 14 on CVM TV.
Schoolboy Football, brought to you by Edgechem, AIM Financial Services, Texaco, and Connix.
Stories in order to clarify and enlighten. Lead Story explains who, what, when, where, why, and how. Lead Story with George Davis, weekdays at 6:30 p.m. on CVM TV.
Small business owners and independent contractors get affordable insurance with Sagicor Pro Shield. The time by Sagicor Life is
7 o'clock.
Tonight in CVM News at 7, Jamaica-Haiti society leader slams global approach to Haiti's turmoil, and PNP rallies behind Buchanan to challenge Action and study finds more than 40% of Jamaicans are addicted to the internet. In the business segment, it's our weekly feature, Small Biz, Big Dreams. And in sports, Michael Johnson announces Kingston as one of 4 host cities for the inaugural Grand Slam Track League.
From Kingston, Jamaica, this is CVM News at 7. It's Monday, November 11, 2024. I'm Nika Lewis. We begin with an update. The Bogwalk Gorge in St. Catherine is again open, but travelers may notice some changes along the way. After Tropical Storm Raphael, efforts are underway to keep this vital route safe for all. Shante McNeil has the details.
The Bogwalk Gorge in St. Catherine has reopened to traffic after Tropical Storm Raphael rendered it impassable. Traffic now narrows to a single lane near Pumrock, where landslides triggered by the storm had blocked the road with massive boulders, completely damaging its retaining wall. Minister with responsibility for works in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Robert Morgan, says stones have been placed as a temporary fix, while plans are underway to build a permanent retaining wall.
The National Works Agency has worked really hard, 24 hours, to clear the boulders. As you can see, this is where they came from, block the roads. But here's the bigger issue. We have lost our retaining wall here at the gorge. We have done some temporary work to protect the road, but we're going to have to build a retaining wall.
He's encouraging road users to exercise caution at this time.
No, it has been challenging. We've worked really hard to give you the opportunity to use the road again. We're just asking you to be safe. The road is in a state of disrepair to some extent because of the rains. We're going to have to do some work on it over the next 30 days, so just please be careful while you use the gorge.
Shante McNeil for CVM News.
Westmoreland's roads await revival as hope rolls in. Promised relief from Spark and Reach roadwork programs could soon smooth the way forward, bringing long-sought comfort to weary travelers. Again, here's Shante McNeil.
Member of Parliament for Westmoreland Western, Morland Wilson, says his constituency will soon benefit from the government's shared prosperity through accelerated improvement to our road network Spark and relief emergency assistance and community help Reach road repair initiatives. Reach, a $20 million program, will fund patching work on key highways through early next year, while Spark, a $40 billion initiative, will split its budget evenly to address both local roads and major thoroughfares. Recent heavy rainfalls from Storm Raphael have damaged roads across the parish. Wilson assures residents that the Spark program will bring relief soon, with contracts expected to be issued this month and in December.
We have the Spark program, which is looking at our local roads, which is the local component of the Spark program. And we have identified 10 roads across the constituency of Westmoreland Western, which will be addressed in very short order.
Regarding the main roads, the major component of the Spark program, he says work will begin soon.
We're due to see those works start sometime next year. We haven't gotten an update as Member of Parliament just yet as to when those works will begin. But we are waiting with bated breath because we do acknowledge that we have a challenge with some of our roadways which have been in a deplorable condition for many, many years, some 30 years or more. So we are working and we are going to use this medium to just appeal to motorists to give us some time.
He appealed to road users to be patient as improvements roll out. For CVM News, I'm Shante McNeil.
Farther afield now, Haiti is once again in turmoil, with recent developments sparking questions about stability and government continuity. Myrta Dazulme, president of the Jamaica Haiti Society, is speaking out, taking aims at what she describes as deliberate interference by regional and international powers. Ramon Gordon brings us the latest.
President and founder of the Jamaica Haiti Society, Myrta Dazulme, is criticizing regional and international agencies for what she sees as a deliberate attempt to prolong Haiti's well-documented turmoil. Her comments follow the recent ousting of Haiti's prime minister, who had served for just 6 months, a move that some argue has fueled further instability in the conflict-ridden Caribbean nation.
They should stop pretending that they're trying to stabilize Haiti when what all they're doing is maintaining the status quo to justify another UN occupation. The people who are sending supersonic jets to Israel and building iron domes can solve this problem in Haiti in a week. until we have a serious candidate who is coming to stabilize the country, we are going to keep having these episodes of why did this last prime minister fail? Why was he fired? Why is this next one going to be better?
The Transitional Presidential Council has appointed a prominent businessman as the new prime minister, but the sudden move is raising concerns about government continuity. De Zulme expressed cautious optimism about the new appointee, but remains doubtful about the council's effectiveness.
No prime minister, no president can succeed in Haiti until we get real about the fact that Haitians need to be able to have free and fair elections that are going to elect a real leader. I cannot tell you if this new prime minister will be the one, but as I said, we have to keep in mind the solution to the problem is allowing Haiti to have real elections and stop flooding the country with guns.
Haiti's path to fair elections has been severely hindered for months by ongoing gang violence and the widespread availability of firearms. Despite international embargoes, a steady flow of arms and ammunition continues to fuel gang power.
Stop the flood of guns coming from the U.S. For the past 3 years, we've been saying that. And train and form and arm, equip and pay the Haitian police who are fully capable of doing the job.
Pervasive insecurity has repeatedly delayed Haiti's elections, with the last general election held in 2016. Currently, Haiti has no definitive timeline for national elections, a situation that could intensify a growing Haitian migrant crisis, one that has drawn Jamaica into its crosshairs.
We have got to get real about Haiti. I am not confident of the Presidential Council's ability until we ensure that the people who are there to truly stabilize Haiti.
Ramon Gordon for CVM News.
Still in Haiti, a Spirit Airlines flight from Florida to Port-au-Prince was hit by gunfire believed to be gang-related, forcing it to divert to the Dominican Republic on Monday. A flight attendant suffered minor injury, but no passengers were harmed. All commercial flights at Port-au-Prince Airport have since been grounded, with other airlines also diverting. The U.S. Embassy warned of, quote, gang-led efforts to block travel in and out of Port-au-Prince, potentially involving armed violence. Spirit Airlines has suspended service to Haiti, citing passenger and crew safety, with a replacement flight scheduled to return travelers to Florida. Back home now, a tragic incident in Green Meadows, Clarendon, where a community was left shaken following the brutal murder of a resident and a brazen robbery. With more, here's Raheem White.
Efforts to rid the country of crime continue despite counterattacks from the criminal underworld. On Sunday, a tragic incident rocked Green Meadows, Clarendon, in which a 62-year-old man was gunned down. He's been identified as Derek Morgan. Morgan was fatally shot outside his home around 9:21 p.m. after investigating a fire at a neighboring house. In an ironic twist, Morgan, a truck driver, was attacked and shot by two masked men who earlier robbed his wife, a 47-year-old hairdresser. Locals say she was unharmed but had been robbed of her cell phone at gunpoint earlier in the evening as she arrived home from Hole Harbor. The suspects reportedly forced her back into her house before fleeing the scene. It's understood, however, that the burning property her late husband went to inspect belongs to a man and woman, both of whom were attending church at the time of the incident. Police arrived at the scene shortly after the shooting, where they found Mr. Morgan laying face down with gunshot wounds to his head and back. He was taken to the Maypen Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. Investigations are ongoing, and authorities are working to determine a motive and identify possible suspects. The area, while not yet classified as a crime hotspot, is located near regions with known gang activity. Authorities are urging anyone with information to come forward. Meanwhile, victim support services are being provided to the victim's family and other affected individuals. Raheem White for CVM News.
Meanwhile, in St. James, a businesswoman is dead following a daring daylight attack on Sunday as she was leaving home for church. Althea Graham Dolly was a well-known member of the banking fraternity whose death has sent shockwaves throughout the parish. A local representative is appealing for public help to bring those responsible to justice.
Let me start off by offering my condolences to the family and the friends of Mr. Graham Gully. The Bow community is not used to these kinds of things that we're seeing here today. It has sent shockwaves across the community and persons are concerned. However, I am confident in the ability of the police to solve this crime. I'm imploring that the citizens and persons that have information on what has happened here, please share with the police so that we can deal with this matter quickly.
And the People's National Party made a bold statement in Portland as it introduced its candidate to challenge the JLP's Anne-Marie Vaz in the Eastern Portland constituency. In a fiery appearance, attorney Isaac Buchanan didn't hold back, addressing both his opponent and her influential family. It's a high-stakes face-off in a seat that's seen its share of upsets. Ramon Gordon has that story.
Sections of Portland were transformed into a sea of orange on Sunday, as the People's National Party presented its controversial standard-bearer to take on the JLP's Anne-Marie Vaz in the Portland Eastern constituency. Caretaker and MP hopeful Isaac Buchanan took unmistakable aim at both his direct challenger Anne-Marie and her husband Darryl Vaz, who has long represented Portland Western in the lower house.
I am here to rescue Portland from what they call Vazism. Vazism means is disenfranchisement of Portland, allowing their friends and their people to benefit from the riches of Portland. They will use lies to change your minds for a better future for you. What is it that you must do is stand firm on your integrity. And when you cast your vote, you're doing so for the future of your kids.
In 1996, Buchanan was arrested at the Norman Manley International Airport on alleged drug charges. Then in 1999, he was implicated by another passenger and arrested by U.S. authorities, leading to a 10-year sentence. He says he's found redemption through studies, later becoming an attorney, driven now by a hope for a better future.
Each and every one of you, I am you. So whenever they tell you that you must reject Isaac Buchanan, that is the elite telling you that they have rejected you and they only want your votes. There is better out there, and that is what I am in East Portland to bring.
The JLP has used Buchanan's past as ammunition, disqualifying, it says, the PNP from conversations on integrity. PNP leader Mark Golding is of a different belief.
Me as a man, I believe in redemption. The fact that a man make a mistake early in his life, that don't cast a shadow over his entire life. A man can rally back again and be better than before. And that is why I never hesitate when I say, yeah, I'm ready.
It is the belief that Buchanan will face a uphill battle against the East's Popular Action Anne, the first woman elected as MP in the constituency. She created an upset in the 2016 by-election, defeating the PNP's Damian Crawford in an area hitherto held by the PNP for 30 years. Despite the odds, Buchanan seems ready.
My friend in the West brought one pass already. Isaac Buchanan. I'm going to tell you this. In the next election, we have broken and shattered everything.
Ramon Gordon for CVM News.
Stay with us for so much more after this break.
You can make a child in care's dream come true. Create lasting memories.
We invite you to open your hearts and homes this holiday season to a child in care. Take a child home this holiday.
Submit your applications early, ahead of the November 29th deadline.
Together, we can make this holiday season brighter for children in care. Join us in making dreams
child home for the holiday program. Apply now at www.childprotection.gov.jm or visit any of our parish offices.
People are going crazy for Popeyes around the world. These lovebirds celebrated their wedding with the Popeyes cake. Others paid $1,000 for our sold-out chicken sandwich. And this guy even shouted out his love for Popeyes. We get it, y'all chicken lovers. Cause we're just as crazy to marinate our chicken for 12 hours and make every piece by hand. That crazy love, we love. Love that chicken from Popeyes.
That jacket! When was you into Temptation? Steve knows style. Family Feud.
Brought to you by We Are the Caring Store, waiting to serve you. It's time to experience independent living. Visit us today.
Welcome back. Continuing the news, the Jamaica Labour Party asserts that it has made greater strides in tackling the island's water issues than any previous government. During a recent meeting in Northwest St. Anne, parliamentary candidate Matthew Samuda outlined the party's accomplishments and pledged additional advancements by 2025. With the latest, here's Britannia Witter.
The Jamaica Labour Party is intensifying its criticism of the opposition People's National Party, accusing its political rival of nearly bringing the country to ruins during its time in power. During a recent constituency meeting in Northwest St. Anne, Member of Parliament for North East St. Anne, Matthew Samuda, strongly emphasized that the JLP administration was the one that saved Jamaica from collapse, and that no other government in recent history has done as much to improve water access across the island.
We need to not be shy about the fact that this government has been on a rescue mission, because under the People's National Party, this country nearly crashed. They wrecked this country and mustn't be shy to remind them of that. Let us remind them that PNPism and schism basically created a situation where there was low to no growth, sometimes declines.
Samuda's statements echoed the sentiments of Prime Minister Andrew Holness, who highlighted what he describes as the success of his government in handling disasters.
And we have always had far more difficult circumstances to deal with than the PNP. Did they ever have a pandemic? And we had a pandemic that we have to deal with. Them not go through the amount of storm that we go through.
On the issue of water access, the JLP claims that it is only under their watch that substantial strides have been made in addressing water scarcity, a long-standing issue that has plagued communities across Jamaica.
I'm telling you, around the clock we are working and we are ensuring that NWC, the government of Jamaica and your party can invest in your water. We have a lot of work to do. We know that Pear Tree Bottom and Mount Edgecombe need some work. That work has already been commissioned. That work will start early January. Labour rights, we have done more than any other administration for water in this country. We are committing to do even more than we have done because we know people must have water. We are investing at an unprecedented rate because we know that the people of Northwest St. Anne, the people of St. Anne, the people of Jamaica deserve better days.
Britannia Witter, CVM News.
Contrary to suggestions by some critics that the ongoing effort of the KSAMC to clean up and restore order to the streets of downtown Kingston was a ploy to remove vendors, the initiative has been met with resounding support from same vendors and store operators. With many hailing the strategy a win, the authorities and their various partners will be expanding the initiative from Haywood Street to other deserving spaces before Christmas.
It's a proverbial stitch in time that's intended to save 9, an effort in essence that will see less of the chaos, debris and lawlessness that springs from the long-standing culture of vending literally in the streets. Haywood Street was among the first to benefit, but it won't be the last, as explained on day 8 of the sustained cleanup.
Wednesday of this week, we'll be meeting with the Beckford Street vendors so we can have the discussion around how we sort out Beckford Street working with them. Just like what we would have done with Haywood Street and Princess Street, is the same method that we are taking to Beckford Street and other areas downtown.
It's a measure that falls under the Cleaner City initiative preached by Kingston's Mayor Andrew Swaby.
We are partnered with the Water Commission and the National Solid Waste Management Authority and the police to go in, and we are going to wash down the area. We're going to move get rid of the garbage, and thus they can apply their wares in a more orderly and cleaner environment.
The municipal corporation was strongly supported by the police, who noted rising concerns from the decades-old vending style adopted in the space.
There is no way for persons who want to buy to walk. So they are now in the middle of the little passage that is left. You have taxi, you have vehicles that want to traverse the space, right? So we're having a clogged situation there. That in itself is a breeding ground for extortionists, for the pickpockets, for the gunmen, all of them. So all we are saying is just to partner with the police. Let us maintain a better space.
And despite efforts by some to suggest the vendors were anything but cooperative and grateful for the change.
For everything we want to do, I want to do it right and proper way.
Yes.
And we need to go on it, man, as long time.
Yeah.
Long time we need to go on it, rule and regulation.
It's not even so about, man, as a long time we need somewhere to sell when we have to run up and down. So me give thanks so me can sell when we have to run up and down. All me have to do is organize myself to the little space where me get. At least me give thanks when you give me somewhere when we not have to run up and down. I'm tired of running.
I said them are come,
Me can't run, so me can't go for local space so me have. Because I'm too old for run.
It also helps to clean the streets and the flow of traffic becomes better. The stalls, some of them have rats and infestation in them, so cleaning that up helps the overall cleanliness and sanitation of the streets. And eventually, hopefully, there's some beautification processes that they'll go through afterwards to ensure that the streets are a more friendly and kind place and a prettier place to be.
Trisha Gay Kelly, CVM News.
The COVID-19 pandemic brought with it many opportunities for technology and in some instances exposed some ills. One of those is under the microscope, revealing a new drug of a cyber variety that's eating into productivity, physical and mental health. This latest study locally uncovers the emerging pandemic of internet addiction.
Individual is consumed substantially with watching porn, sexual activities and gaming. How much of that individual's time goes toward productive activities or even eating properly? Just think about it. What does that mean for the society?
Cyberpsychology is the study of how people's minds and behaviors are affected by their interactions with technology, especially the internet. Here in Jamaica, researchers have uncovered shocking findings concerning Jamaicans' cyberpsychology that could have serious implications for productivity and health if left unchecked.
40 in every 100 Jamaicans, 4 in every 10, 2 in every 5. Now, if these persons are hooked on the internet and other such devices in terms of digital devices, it means that they are mostly consumed with these devices, what is happening, as against doing schoolwork, housework, work. So a substantial part of their mind is geared towards that. So they're going to spend less time eating, less time working, less time being engaged in a lot of stuff. So we are getting, the society is being shortchanged as a result of what is actually going on here. That's what it automatically means. So it means that productivity is cut, the quality of your education is actually lower than it ought to have been because you're consumed with digital devices and the internet.
Dr. Bourne shares the factors influencing the addiction among genders while shining light on the elderly using the internet.
We found out that those persons who are elderly, and yes, those persons over 65 years old, the elderly is highly consumed with the internet, and those persons who are younger than 30. But we have more news to give you. Males are substantially driven by the internet than females, addicted to the internet than females. So when I began researching why is this so, I found out, but it makes sense. They said, looking at it from an international perspective in terms of meta-analysis, work that has actually gone on in it, that females use the internet substantially for social interaction. This is what males use it for now. For porn, for games, and for cyber sex.
The latest study also uncovered that those most inclined to the internet are among those worst afflicted with depression and mental health challenges.
You're going to have a number of persons who are going to come down a lot of ailments in a short time. Because most of their time is going to be spent on our own computers, phones, and gadgets. So these are going to be individuals who are going to be suffering from gastroenteritis, other problems relating to eating disorder, mental fatigue. But not only that, what we found in the research is a number of these individuals who spend a lot of time on the internet. They have low self-esteem, they are anxious, and they are depressed.
Meanwhile, in the case of school-aged children 18 and older, the reality was equally concerning. In our next report, we'll tell you how our children are being affected by internet addiction. This evening, we're unmasking the people behind the politics in your communities in CVM's feature, Behind the Politics. Here's Courtney Lewis.
We're in the West, where we meet an independent candidate, Lloyd Mozy Gillings. He's looking to take up the post as Member of Parliament for the Southern Trelawney constituency. Having first thrown his hat in the political ring in 2008, he's not new to the scene and the expectations. His unfortunate loss to Marissa Dalrymple Philibert in 2 parliamentary elections has not deterred him as he emerges with new hopes and solutions for Southern Trelawney. As Jamaica nears its election season, we see faces beyond the politics. Get to meet the candidates with me, Courtney Lewis. This is Behind the Politics, showcasing your candidates ahead of the next general election.
Name is Lloyd Gillings, Lloyd George Gillings, Mozy. They call me Mozy. Mozy is a nickname, but it's a famous name. I was born in Wilson Valley, Trelawney. Grew up in the Rock Spring area. Grew up with a single parent, a single mother. And I grew up as a humble youth.
From Spring Garden Primary to Albertown High School to farming, then the cruise line. The possibilities were endless for Lloyd Gillings.
I am always willing to serve my community. I'm just a server, and before I enter into politics, persons, see me as that type of person. So it's not because of the politics why I am out there working with the community members and other people.
He's just that type of guy, a lover of his community, a man in the streets, and even more, a business owner of Mozy's Hardware in Albertown. After many calls from his friends and community to run for Albertown councillor, Gillings entered the political space under the People's National Party and won the division in 2008 and 2012.
You actually don't vote for yourself. It's people who put you there, and you have to respect that because you cannot do it by yourself. You need the people.
His dreams and hopes for the constituency are rooted in solutions. He endorses a water project started by Paul Patmore and hopes for its expansion, but leans into his own life experiences.
I would like to see all these persons that invest in our yam product. The yam should be packed in Trelawney, should be a Trelawney project. I know persons buy the yam, but they take it outside of the parish to pack and to do different things and take away the jobs from our people. I believe the Trelawney yam is the best yam, and we should cherish it, and we should keep it as our product and a brand Trelawney item. I would like to have a single mothers program for the single mothers, especially single mothers of South Trelawney. You know why? Because I grew up with a single mother, and I don't understand how she do it. I think it's very hard for the single parent, especially for single mothers, and that is something that I want to put some emphasis on when I become the next Member of Parliament.
Join us for more on your political representatives ahead the next general election on Behind the Politics. Courtney Lewis for CVM News.
Courtney, are we looking to see more independent candidates?
Yes, we're definitely heading in that direction. We're looking to see more independent candidates as well as our JLP and PNP candidates. So it's just a mixture of all of them. So we'll see how that goes.
All right. Thanks
so much.
Well, stay with us for the business segment when we return.
Popcorn chicken, now available in barbecue. KFC, it's finger-licking good. The Time by KFC.
Oreo and Coca-Cola just became besties. Taste the new limited editions while they last.
That's it, we're closed. I am so sorry, we only have 3 patties left.
It's a Jamaican thing, but full of flavor. Hey. We set the trend style major. Juicy patty, happy savor. You know the patty nice when we do the juicy patty bones. Patty bones, patty bones, watch your bones, watch your bones. Hot patty, watch your steam. Juicy patty bones, patty bones, patty bones, watch your bones, watch your bones. Juicy patty, ready for we go. From food I keep in our party. Juicy patty, have something for everybody. So patty for nice. Patty bones, watch your bones, watch your bones. Hot patty, watch your steam. Juicy patty bones. Grab your family and do the juicy patty bones.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winfred Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Thanks for staying with us. Just ahead of the business segment, we turn to regional and international news. We begin with the news in the region. A transitionary council created to re-establish democratic order in Haiti signed a decree Sunday firing interim Prime Minister Gary Conley and replacing him with Alex Didier Fils-Aimé, a businessman who was previously considered for the job. Details from France 24 English.
Appointed Prime Minister barely 6 months ago, Gary Conley is already seeing his ousting. In a leaked executive order, Haiti's Transitional Presidential Council agreed by consensus to fire Conley, though the Prime Minister said in a letter that the move was illegal.
This resolution, taken outside any legal or constitutional framework, raises serious concerns about its legitimacy and its impact on the future of our country.
Conley has struggled to get along with much